right where you're at, right on the spine. So when I'm pulling it, that's going to take tension off that. So you shouldn't have to drive it with a ton of force, but you do need to drive it some. And if it isn't moving, let me know.
All our jack points back here?
Yeah, we're all right.
You're all right. Yeah.
All right, ready?
Yeah, let me know when to start tapping.
You'll know.
Clamp coming off.
Huh?
The clamp coming off.
Kyle, one job on this.
It's sliding.
All right.
Slowly sliding.
All right, so this GT has some kind of front end accident at some point in time that wasn't caught by whomever built the car. And basically the cross member is further back on the driver's side and tilted up towards the firewall, but it's also tilted up on the passenger side as well. So we pulled the front end out, we pulled the cross member back towards the driver's side like it needed to be, but now we're going to put a little more tension on. We're going to put about 4,000 pounds of tension on this chain with the ram jack over here, and at the same time I'm doing that, they're going to take these heavy caulking irons and drive down the bottom of the cross member. Then we'll go back and we'll measure it out and make sure that it's within factory specs, which is pretty tolerant when it comes to cross members. They give you 5 millimeters plus or minus, which is quite a bit.
Ready?
Yep. Here we go. Let me load it. Let me load it.
Let me know when. Let us know when.
All right. How's it looking?
Measure it?
Hmm?
Measure it?
Yeah, we'll measure it.
Alright, so today we're tearing down this car which had previous damage, front end damage, that may have or may not have been looked over previously when the work was done. So it did sustain some front end damage, which we did use the towers and the frame machine here to go ahead and pull that out and get that back to factory specs. And now we're in the process of go ahead and disassembling and bagging and tagging all the items on the car. So as you can see, some of the damage that we had down here from this cross member and the shock tower itself was actually pushed back and pushed up. So what we had to do is pull the material of the car in the reverse order that it actually got hit. So we went ahead and pulled it out, and we were able to drive this cross member down as well to get it back to the factory specs.
Alright, what you're looking at is the teardown of 2 sets. That's 4 carburetors. Neither of these sets of carburetors have been actively used since the 70s. And a simple way of cleaning up all the brass parts without getting into a whole lot of expense is 2 parts vinegar, 1 part water, and a little bit of baking soda. You let them sit in there for a couple hours and this stuff comes back looking effectively almost new. You may have to repeat the process a couple of times, but at the end of the day, you see it bubbling. At the end of the day, what you get is some really clean parts. Now, when I put these in here, they were coated in green crystallized gook, and they were in really poor shape. So I'll show you what the carburetors and everything look like possibly in the next day or two. They're pre-treating right now, we're soaking them, and then we're going to be putting them in an ultrasonic cleaner to bring the carburetors back to that like new condition. And at that point, once those are done, we'll put these in just to make sure that every little port and the jetting and in the emulsion tubes, everything is just squeaky clean. And then we'll be putting these carburetors back together with a new rebuild kit. But essentially, if you buy carburetors, or if you bought a car that hasn't been on the road in a long time and you're willing to tackle the carburetor rebuild yourself, this is a good thing to do. 2 parts vinegar, 1 part water, a little bit of baking soda. Let them soak. You may do it a couple of times over the span of a weekend, but when you're done, they will be like new condition. This all aluminum conversion of a 74 GTB that we did has been an absolute challenge in every corner. I mean every corner. We have a car that has a motor that has dynoed at over 240 horsepower and almost 200 foot-pounds of torque. The car weighs 1,800 pounds. And right now, we are incorporating the last phase of the big challenges, and that is this air conditioning system. And with everything else on this car, it came with its own rules and its own complexities. We were running a serpentine belt system, which means this entire setup right here, which ironically is all Alpha parts, had to be fabricated just for the sake of incorporating the air conditioning pump. The reason you had to have these serpentine tensioners and all that is because everything on here needs to have at least 40 to 60% of the pulleys covered with the belt. If you don't, you will hot spot those parts. Therefore, again, as usual, everything else has to be thought out, and it has been a fun project, but it has been an absolute challenge at every corner. We're getting there though. Okay, so what you're seeing here is an unmitigated disaster. It is a car that has been beaten, and beaten again. It was, unfortunately, it was restored about a year ago, and now it's here to get resolved of many problems that it has experienced that weren't picked up during the build. The front end of this car was stuffed at some point, and everything came this way. So this had to be straightened out. We had to pull the cross member down because it was way out of line. The suspension didn't even fit appropriately. But as we had everything blasted off this car, it was somewhat surprising to see all the less than good repairs that were made. Lots of really bad metal, lots of bad metal work, lots of bad sway bar repairs, cross member relief cuts. There's still rust everywhere. So I guess the moral of the story is if you're getting ready to pay a king's ransom for one of these, get it on a lift and get it checked out thoroughly by somebody who knows what you're looking at. Because in the end, it could save you thousands upon thousands of dollars.